Welcome back to the show. Danny Small is the program manager for Key to Change, a financial education program at Tacoma Goodwill, and Latasha Smith is a proud graduate of this money learning effort. First, Danny, this financial literacy training is a growing part of your program, isn't it? Tell us about what is Key for Change.
It's a really great program. It's a free and open to the public money management course. So it's a total of 8 classes, 16 hours total, covering everything from banking to credit reports. I mean, it really covers pretty much everything. We hold classes on site at Goodwill, but also off-site within the community. So that kind of helps with the barriers such as transportation and childcare, being able to go to a place such as the Salishan community over at Tacoma Housing Authority and hold a class there.
And you've also held some classes around other parts of the South Sound, have you not?
Yeah, we have classes in Longview and in Yakima, in Thurston County and Grays Harbor. I mean, we're growing big time.
That's great. I gathered just from our short time together that you have a passion for this financial learning process. Where did it come from? What's your background?
Well, I moved here about 3 years ago from New York State, where I worked in the car business. I was in the car business for about 5 years, and I was a financial services manager. And so that position is really kind of what opened my eyes to the need for education, for financial education, because I saw so many people come into the dealership and not have a plan, not have a budget, know how much they can afford, didn't really differentiate between what they needed in a vehicle and what they wanted in a vehicle, and so they let the salesperson make all the financial decisions for them, and it was an emotional financial decision. You know, they had sat in that car and smelled that new car and made taken mental ownership, and they were just ready to get in and take off. And 2 months later, when they're making that $500 payment, thinking, "Oh my goodness, I probably should have done my homework.
What did I get into?"
Yeah. So I've seen that so much, and that's really, like I said, the where I became aware of the lack of education. And so when I moved out here, I finished up my degree, and then I looked into who was doing what and what kind of programs were out there with financial education, and that's what kind of brought me to Goodwill, because they had a position open and it worked perfectly.
So you've described the shopping environment. What other kinds of subjects, basic of banking, home mortgages? What is covered in your 8 programs?
Oh, so we start off with banking basics. Talk about the importance of a checking account, overdraft fees, that kind of stuff. We get into just getting organized, having who do you owe, how much do you owe, kind of putting up, getting organized, having a filing system, that kind of stuff. We get into identity theft, putting a spending plan together, doing financial goals, identifying what your spending leak is. For most of us in Washington State, it's probably coffee, but identifying those spending leaks. We get into predatory lending, borrowing money, making a major purchase, and the 6-step decision-making process with that. We get into insurance, we get into investing, we get into savings, retirement. Very last class, they get a copy of their credit report. We go over what does that score mean, who's looking at that, and just making sense and understanding what a credit report is.
What a great program.
It is.
Latasha, you're a graduate of this program. Tell us how you came to volunteer for it, because you had to step forward and ask, didn't you?
Yes, I knew that I needed to reorganize all of my finances, and I did not know how to get started. I went to a local community person and said, I need help. How do I find something that can help me? I don't have very much money. How can I get started? And they said that there's a free program that Goodwill was offering, and I thought, okay, great, free. I wonder how good this is actually going to be. That was my initial thought, to be honest, and I was pleasantly surprised at the quality that the facilitator gave to the entire class, and it was a very comfortable environment, and we were able to ask as many questions that we wanted, that we needed, until we felt like every area was covered before we moved on to the next topic, and so it was great.
And about how long ago was that?
When was that? That was right around this time last year.
Okay. And
Last summer.
what change has it brought? How do you see your life different today?
I went from being absolutely overwhelmed to empowered, put it simply. I did not look at any of my finances for 4 years. I kept everything in a box. I'd check my mail, throw it in the box in my closet. And some things I'd covered the electric, a little this, a little bit of that, nothing. I had no real focus. I knew what I could do as far as getting food, the bare essentials.
Right.
No plans for anything for the future for myself or for my daughter.
Okay.
And I knew that wasn't going to last very long. I wanted to own my own home one day. I'd like to have a life. I don't want to just survive. I wanted to really thrive, and so I needed some tools, and this program gave me the tools.
And the key was to take control of it.
Absolutely.
And do it. Danny, is Latasha's experience something you've seen with other students in your classes?
Every single one of them. No. I wish. Latasha's success is really tremendous, but I mean, it's still a work in progress. I mean, she still calls and emails and asks for advice, and we get that with a lot of our students because we're here. I mean, we're kind of more myself, but also the instructors are, we're more coaches and
Right.
mentors. I mean, we care, we're passionate. So we have seen some tremendous success from so many students, and really it's the exact word, it's the tools. And if you think about it, where do you really learn this stuff? So as an adult, I think that a lot of people are kind of thinking, I should know this, but here's a really supportive, safe, comfortable environment where you can ask those questions, get those tools, and the ongoing feedback from our classes is, I didn't realize how much I didn't know.
Right, right. Great information, and later on in the program we'll have the contact so that folks, viewers at home, can say, I see myself there, I want to learn more. Right. Thank you, Danny Small, Latasha Smith, for sharing the Key to Change story. Up next, my co-host Emily West talks with David Moore, the president of Junior Achievement of Greater Puget Sound, and